Hi, I'm Neil Simons with Diamond Mowers, and today we'll be walking through a daily inspection and orientation of a Diamond Mowers boom mower. Here we have the filter housing and in-tank filter. The filter should be changed after the first 50 hours, then every 500 hours after that, along with the hydraulic fluid. The tank will hold up to 55 gallons of ISO 46 hydraulic fluid, depending on your particular tank. Attached to the filter housing is the filter restriction gauge. Excessive restriction or a dirty filter will cause the gauge to read in the yellow or even in the red. If that were to happen, replace the filter, even if the recommended interval hasn't happened yet. Ensure that the ball valve near the bottom of the tank is fully open and has a zip tie holding it. The zip tie will prevent any sort of debris from reaching up and accidentally closing the valve and starving the pump. Here you can see some of the bolts attaching the main frame to the tractor. These bolts are torqued and marked. Check all of these bolts every day to ensure they haven't turned or otherwise worked loose. If you would happen to find a loose bolt, remove it, reapply red Loctite, and torque to the specs located in the back of your operator's manual. Out front we have the pump. It's attached directly to the engine by two U-joints and a drive shaft in most applications. Check for loose connection bolts daily and grease with number 2 lithium-based grease weekly or after every 50 hours of use. Above the pump is a hydraulic cooler. It's designed to prevent the oil from overheating. An electric fan will pull air through from the front, but as grass and other material builds up on that surface, you can flip a switch on the control box and reverse that airflow to blow the material off. The pump unloading valve is an electrically controlled valve that's operated by the mower switch inside the cab. Because the pump is always turning whenever the engine is running, the hydraulic fluid has to go somewhere. When the control switch is in the off position, the flow returns right back to tank. But when the control switch is in the on position, the flow is diverted out toward the attachment. The actuator is the mechanism that swings the boom forward and backward. Its range of motion is 180 degrees. The design of the actuator allows the boom to break away in both forward and reverse in case you run into a solid object. However, keep in mind that repeatedly running the boom into solid objects will, over time, damage the boom and its components. The boom will have grease points at each joint and at the end of each cylinder that will need to be greased every day. Check the hoses and tubes at the same time for leaks or damage. The spindle is pre-greased from the factory and will not need to be greased again for 500 hours. The spindle bolts are torqued and marked, just like the frame bolts. Check them every day. If they happen to work loose, remove them, reapply the red Loctite, and torque to the spec noted in the operator's manual. Inspect the rubber flap and replace it when it's worn out. A worn, torn, or missing flap will not protect from flying debris. Check the trapdoor for proper function. It should push back to expose the blades to cut off material, but spring forward again to provide protection from the rotating blades. Check the blades frequently for wear and damage. If any cracks are found, or if the blades are worn to half of their original width, replace them. Always replace blades as a full set with new hardware, as even a slight weight variation between a new blade and a worn blade will cause the deck to vibrate and cause damage to the mower. The blade bolts have castle nuts and roll pins. Make sure that all the roll pins are still in place and the nuts are tight. Also do a visual check of the disc itself, checking for bending, deep gouges, or cracks. The right side door and window have been replaced with Lexan to protect the operator from flying debris. Only clean with water and a soft cloth. Any sort of abrasive cleaner will scratch the surface. Check hoses and connections at the valve for abrasions and leaks, replacing any hoses if necessary. The accumulator acts as a shock absorber for the main boom. Without this in place, the shock of the boom bouncing up and down would transfer directly to the frame and tractor and cause damage over time. Check the wheel weight bolts for tightness, re-Loctite and retighten if necessary. The tractor will not start with the mower switch in the on position. This is a safety feature. You might also have a travel lock. The travel lock prevents the deck from drifting down and contacting the tire or the ground while in the travel position. Directions on how to operate the boom are located on a decal near the joystick or on the bank of cable control levers. Properly operating and maintaining your Diamond boom mower will result in a long and productive life for your equipment. For more information on this or other Diamond products, visit us at diamondmowers.com. Diamond Mowers, where you can demand brilliance.